Alrighty, looks like we're about to get started with bout number 1. Hello everybody, my name is Juanita Castro and I will be hosting your Louder Than a Bomb Florida bout for today. I'm going to get all my information pulled up on judges, rules, guidelines, and we can get this bout kicked off as fast as possible. All right, looks like we are live. Sorry, audience, forgive me. Looks like my glasses have fogged up for a moment. You know how it is from the heat of these competitions. There we go. All right. Hello, everybody. My name again is Juanita Castro, and I will be your host for this virtual semifinals bout during our 7th annual Louder Than a Bomb Florida Festival. While we are all excited for an incredible day of poetry, nobody more than I'd first like to acknowledge that the hip-hop community suffered a tremendous loss yesterday. I would like you to join us in a moment of silence as we pay our respects and passions to DMX. Thank you to all that he's done. I hope he finds peace where he is. So, it's hard to imagine that an entire year has passed since the first ever virtual Louder Than a Bomb Florida Festival. But here we are again, back in Zoom and ready for the top 16 teams of this year's festival to set this space on fire with their powerful original stories. Things are different, just like last year, but JTF has the belief that your voice, your story, and this beautiful Blue Apple community is as strong as it's ever been. Of course, we urge every single one of you here on this bout, watching on our YouTube Live, on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you may be, to continue to support each other. We know how emotional it can be to spit your truth on the stage. So, poets, coaches, friends and family, sponsors, please check in on each other during and after these performances. Send texts, FaceTime, Messenger, DM. Just check in on each other and make sure that you would continue to share that same love that you would as if we were all in the same theater together. Okay, talking about Louder Than a Bomb Florida, is basically my favorite thing. This poetry festival was inspired by a poetry festival hosted by the Young Chicago Authors. Louder Than a Bomb Florida is the largest youth poetry festival in the state of Florida, featuring hundreds of youth poets from nearly 30 different schools. From Homestead up to Jacksonville, all are competing for the championship title. A poetry slam is a competition in which poets, or coaches of poets, perform their original work and are judged by members of the audience. 5 judges have volunteered their time to be here today. They've been instructed to score these poems on a scale of 0 to 10, based on content, originality, and performance. As far as the scores, a poem that gets a 0 is basically the worst poem we've ever heard. It sets the art form back like 100 years. A score of 10 is for the most amazing, unbelievably brilliant poems ever written. Of the 5 scores, we drop the high and drop the low. Add the 3 in the middle, giving each poet a potential high score of 30. Poets, you get 3 minutes plus a 10-second grace period to read each of your pieces. If you go over time, points will be deducted from your total score. Time starts at the poet's first utterance after announcing their name in school. As for the rules, this will be a 5-round bout. Given the continued importance of social distancing, we have again adapted our bout format to ensure the safety of our students and educators. As a result, 3 of the 5 rounds must be individual poems, and teams have the option to send up as many as 2 collaborative pieces during the bout as well. These collaborative pieces may feature anywhere from 2 to 4 poets each. Now, while we all recognize that this is a competition, please remember, the point is not the point is the poetry. Everybody in this virtual room, out there on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, again, wherever you may be, should be supporting each other, meeting new people, and continuing to build this unique and beautiful community that we're all a part of. So make sure that you clap, snap, and like it up for all the poets, not just the ones from your school. With that said, Louder Than a Bomb Florida is a safe space. Absolutely no profanity, racist, homophobic, gender biased, derogatory, or discriminatory language is allowed. Violation of this rule will result in serious deductions as determined by the bout managers. Also, poets, no props, costumes, editing, or musical accompaniment, just you and your words. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have 5 incredible people who have volunteered their time and passion to be here today. They have a huge responsibility, the judges, but let's be nice, because who knows how we're going to feel about them once we get those scores. I'm going to get the name and qualifications of all of our judges, introduce them to you, and then that way we can get this bout started. And here are our judges. So, judges, I'm going to go ahead and introduce each of you one by one. I want to thank you personally for volunteering your time to be here. You guys are doing an incredible job. And just the amount of passion and effort that you put forth for the kids in our community, we really appreciate it. I'll start with Judge Ed. Considering that he grew up on hip-hop and poetry have a pretty similar lineage, he feels he has a good grasp on how and what poetry works and how the performance informs it. I really like that. Thank you, Judge Ed. Judge Michelle. Her children love to write, and she has the love of writing and reading as well. Me too, Judge Michelle. Judge OJ. His years in the game qualify him, as he feels he has only grown more understanding during his years as a judge. This is true. Judge Monique has produced many concerts in the mariachi genre and has a lot of experience in the arts. That is super cool. And Judge Ray has worked in the poetry event background for a long time, including previous Louder Than a Bomb Florida events. We're so excited to see you back. Thank you to all of our judges again for all the time and passion that you volunteered. We're super excited to have you here. Audience, please remember that even though this is a virtual bout and we can't see all of your beautiful faces technically here in front of us, it's your job to be as responsive as possible, and here's how. If you're feeling something that you hear, you can click those likes on YouTube, post your comments and emojis, all to show love to that poet or performance. Remember that performance poetry is all about communication and exchange. At some point, we'll be sneaking into the YouTube live to see what everybody else is saying. So make sure that you shout out your favorite poet or line on all social medias that you have. If you aren't already following Blackle Poetry on Twitter or Instagram, do so right now. That's BLUAPPLEPOTRY, and we're stamping everything that we do with hashtag LTABFLA. That's Louder Than a Bomb Florida. Of course, please remember, the poets who are performing today have worked very, very hard to be here. So give them your love and encouragement in any way that you can, especially during these times of social distancing. The point is not the points is always the poetry. Today, we will hear from the following competing teams. We have Hollywood Hills High School, Coral Springs High School, Pompano Beach High School, and A.W. Dreyfus. Now, we're almost ready to start the slam, but first, judges, we have what we call our sacrificial poet, a poet who is not competing in the slam, but will be judged as if they were. For you judges, this will act as a calibration for your scores to help you remain consistent throughout the bout. Please help me in welcoming this bout's sacrificial poet. Give it up for Emily from the Bowl School in Jacksonville.
Hi, my name is Emily MacDonald. I am representing the Bowl School, and this poem is entitled 9 Years Old. I never knew what racism was until I watched the case of Trayvon Martin when I was 9. I thought America was this great country until I was 9. Up until I was 9, I thought the only place where you could kill innocent people and get away with it was in countries like mine. Developing nations riddled with corruption and crime, I was wrong. America is a false advertisement that promotes liberty, justice, and equal opportunities for all. But if you look in the fine print, you'll see liberty, justice, and equality only apply to the descendants of European immigrants. A pluribus unum means nothing. It is simply a Latin phrase, more like a pluribus non. Jamaica's motto, simply a translation of America's motto, out of many one people, means something to us. We no longer have indigenous people, and so we are a country of peoples from all across the globe. European, African, and Asian cultures make up our culture, our food, our music, our dialect. Unlike in the great United States, I was taught from a very early age to respect other cultures. I understood that not everyone looked like me, or dressed like me, or spoke like me. Most importantly, what I learned in Jamaica was the truth about slavery. I did not learn how much slave owners did for the economy. I did not learn what great war heroes they were. I learned how they treated innocent human beings. I learned how they beat us in the streets for not meeting a quota, how they threw us in sugar mills to burn if we dared stand up for ourselves. Because we're supposed to be grateful to the master, right? Right? They can subject us to whatever discrimination and bigotry because they gave us that job. They accepted us into their schools, but they haven't given us our rights as human beings. But school and jobs are enough to be grateful for, right? Mark Twain said it best. History often rhymes because Black people are still forced to act like mimes, mimicking the white person's every move in order to dance around the landmine society created to keep us down. I cannot see how people cannot see the inequality in this country. They are so blinded by their patriotism that they cannot see the discrimination and racism that lives just down their streets. Before I was 9, racism was an ancient word to me. Prejudice lived in the recesses of my history books far within its index. Before I was 9, I thought people saw skin as people in the Caribbean do. The largest organ in the body, not a defining characteristic of our personalities. Before I was 9, I felt free. But now I'm afraid to walk down the streets or drive my car and have the last thing I see be the police with the barrel of his gun pointed at me. Thank you.
That's to our sacrificial poet. And now, the scores from our judges. All right, from a low to a high, for Emily from the Bull School in Jacksonville, we have a 7.9, an 8.9, a 9, a 9.2, and a 9.5. Judges, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to get this bout kicked off. I'm so excited. Okay. Let's give it up for the poets, not the scores. Audience, I hope we're ready. Poets, I hope you're ready. We're gonna get started. Let's welcome the first competing poet of the bout. Representing Hollywood Hills High School, up first, we have Lori.
Pretty down night right now.
Hi, my name is Laura and I'm going to be representing Hollywood Hills DOA. When I drive, I try not to think about how I'm turning to see how fast I can steer without recklessly endangering my life. Yet I'll still brake. For the consideration of others and how I'll feel after I've given myself unnecessary whiplash. I like to test the bounds of life and do live experiments on how velocity truly works. If spirit guides are really so interested in science that they'll stop what they're doing to see my results. But I'll still brake. To see the consequences of a slight rebel in routine, I'll go 50 in a 30. I'll brake on your way to a stoplight to see your face at a street light. Was I going too fast? My driving is imperfect and I love the exact same way. It is reckless and fast and experimental and cautious. I'll still brake for your sake and for myself to stay in your good graces. Irresponsible desire begs to push 100 miles, but caution knows a school zone when it sees it. Blinking lights feign warning. Youthful courage begs to differ and adds 5 more miles to the initial 15 ever so often. To present how hearts race to a finish line that isn't presently in sight, and how they go faster in hopes of seeing one so they know exactly where to slow down. My driving tests the bounds of life because I am too scared to test the bounds of love in case it runs out. I'd rather catch a case of self-regulated reckless endangerment of a minor than run the risk of losing love because I didn't know when to hit the brakes, causing traffic in my chest with accident and turmoil at the scene. Call an ambulance to save me from the love I've created for myself, the love I think I deserve, the runny, sticky, messy love that hearts long for, the type of doomsday love I'd risk my life for, the type that waits for no one, the type that you had to speed for, the type that came so compactly in that little red Corvette. The only condition was that you had to speed for it. And you're out of luck if either one of you run out of gas, if either one of you crash. With caution, curiosity, and chaos at the scene, I don't think this was a love that was ever meant to last. Love was never meant to ride without potholes or road signs, especially if you had to speed to catch up to it. When I drive, I try not to think of how I'm turning, to see how fast I can steer without recklessly endangering my life. Yet I'll still brake for the chance at an unrushed love.
Thank you to Lori. And now, the scores from our judges. You know, Judge Monique, I hope they play some mariachi, some like good mariachi, you know? Like the good one. Rata de dos patas. I love that song. It's not really mariachi, but the mariachi version hits. Okay, for Lori, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have an 8.5, an 8.6, an 8.7, an 8.9, and a 9.2. Awesome. Up next, we have from Coral Springs High School, Danny.
I was only a boy when I was stripped from my culture. I sensed something was wrong when I saw my best friend's body was lying lifeless, skin being eaten by the vultures. I was only a boy, too young to understand, running away, searching for answers and not demanding explanation. Why is this body filled with holes? I know this is not the working of the arrow or the spear. I hear the sound of marching feet coming very near. I hide behind the bush. I cannot see very clear. I poke my head out and see men with the lightest skin I've ever seen. I see the ship and I wonder what this means. These light-skinned men were holding contraptions in their hands. Is this some kind of tool for helping with the land? I then see a person try to approach him and converse, but within a matter of seconds I see parts of his body disperse. They must have been the people responsible for killing my friend. I run from out the bush and I try to apprehend. I was only a boy. I was then beaten and bruised. They took me on the ship and every day I was used, separated from Angola and the rest of my family. Days go by on the ship and I'm driven to insanity. I was only a boy when me and my kinfolk were placed on the White Lion ship. 55 days, a very tiresome trip. 55 days of being stripped of not only my clothes but stripped of my humanity. I saw many of my people jumping from the ship because they saw the vanity. I was only a boy when I went from eating the sugar cane to being forced to plant the sugar cane, and time was never sweet again. It took many years before me and my family would ever meet again, but not as a boy. As a man, even though I was not seen as such by the master. It would be an understatement to say that this was a disaster. I was a boy, and as a man, the same question remains. Why? Why did the kings and principalities send me into captivity? It's riveting. It's sad to know that my life and the lives of others were traded for mere spices and herbs. Why did I deserve? 55 days would turn into 55 years of more trauma and oppression. The taste of freedom's lips was my only obsession. I haven't tasted her in years. 55 years the ocean was filled with the tears of my people on the land of the hearts of the deceitful. I was a boy, and as a man I still can't fathom all the evil. Slave masters whipping my back like the Jesus that they got us to worship, but I know that he would never approve. Tired of turning my cheek, I think it's time I made a move. I was a boy held in chains. I haven't rebelled since I was removed from my home. On the ship I wanted to jump, but I held on to hope that I would see freedom again. I was a boy, and now as a man, with whips ingrained into my skin, trauma stained on my eyelids, and whatever's left of it so within, that I would chase it once more. Nothing to lose but my life, but freedom is worth everything. I am a man who was once a boy in Angola, and I'm forced to see the younger offspring born into this unknown land not being able to experience the homeland, but only hear of it. Not anymore. After 55 years, I'm reconnecting to my youth and remembering what it was like to be a boy. A free boy before the white man snatched my people and my best friend's body was not turned into a flute. Instead of airflow and sweet sounds, it was leaked blood seeped into the ground and the roots of the plants absorbed it and turned it into roses. Tapping into that feeling once more and not asking to meet the beautiful girl named Freedom, but instead taking her for myself. Wrinkled skin and shaking bones, but I fight. Burn the plantation was when I finally saw the light. Sneak onto the ship in the middle of the night. 55 days undiscovered. 55 days until I reach the homeland. The feeling of being like Moses and seeing the promised land. As I see Angola, I take many steps, but only to be met with my inevitable death. As I breathe in my last breath, I'm relieved to say I found freedom, but not as a man, as a boy.
Thank you to Danny. And now, the scores from our judges. Judge Ed, I really like the posters you've got in the background. That's cool. I like your art. Nice. Okay, the score is for Danny. From a low to a high, we have an 8.5, an 8.5, an 8.7, an 8.9, and an 8.9. Up next, we have from Pompano Beach High School, Olivia.
Hi, my name is Olivia from Pompano Beach Pampa Poets, and this is my poem. You know, I never really wanted a son or a daughter, but the more time I dwell on it, the more time my mind begins to wander. And after all the hours I spend thinking about whoever you might be, about wherever your life may eventually lead, I formatted a method for how I'd raise you, if I ever had the chance. So, you see, I would lead you into Willow Tree Forest and teach you how to weave realities from wonder, how to pluck fairy tales from the pages of pop-up books, how to squander your days wild, brave, and carefree. I'd spill the whole deal about how you can be anything you want to be, but the biggest thing I'd stress, kid, is how love is all you need. I'd crouch down and press the seeds of oak trees into your palms and whisper, even the tiniest of beings just need sun and rain to grow big and strong. And if you are at all anything like me, one day you will realize there is so much imperfect in our society. But just as I taught myself, I would teach you to be calm. I would promise you, you don't have enough time to be angry. There is never enough time to be angry, so baby, don't be. Ignore the tick of the clock like I told you, but never forget that you don't have forever. And I will stay a firm believer that not all change begins with alarm bells blaring. Not all wake-up calls need to be harsh discourse, nails on chalkboard, bonfire that may burn bright, but burn just as fast. I will tell you the biggest changes start with whispers and laughs. They start with love because love never burns quick, it lasts. And I would love you the way the moon loves the tide. No, never overbearing. I would be your guide, and I would know when to let you go. But the moment it gets dark, I will illuminate the entire night sky. And at night, I will lay down beside you and whisper stories of how the universe stretches so wide and far, of how our sun is a star, and there are trillions of stars. So if one sun could pull so much life from the earth, imagine how much more life exists out there beyond ours. And I will bring you to the animals to demonstrate gentle. We will inch up close to bird nests, safe and high in their treetop lofts. And like the sincerest hymn I know I will say, all life is sacred. Things that crawl and things that fly, they're all worthy of living just like you and I. You know, I don't really remember when, But at some point I changed this poem from future to present tense, so I guess that means this poem has become less of a Plan C brochure, less of a what if, more of an I'm waiting for you. And I can't wait to show you how purely wonderful it is to exist.
Thank you to Olivia. Now, the scores from our judges. Judge OJ has a real face of concentration. Okay, from a low to a high, we have an 8.2, an 8.7, an 8.7, a 9.2, and a 9.6. Now up next, to finish off round 1, from A.W. Dreyfus, we've got Merleeve.
Hi, I'm Merleeve and I'm representing Dreyfus School of the Arts. Disclaimer, this poem includes mentions of sexual violence and suicide. When I was 8 years old, Queen Bee herself told the world I would run it. Her bow-light explosive drums beat through the speakers at PE and dance, and I plied and cat-daddied my way through youth, my mom taming a head of hair only our people know to call tender. I'm still 8 when Viola Davis gets famous for playing a mammy. I'm 10 when Lupita Nyong'o gets famous for playing a slave, for being whipped, for being raped, for being crowned the world's most beautiful person. But I know that's not true, because Twitter already taught me she can only be pretty for a black girl. I can only be pretty for a black girl, but if I'm lucky, white men will want to sleep with me for the same reasons they raped my ancestors, and if I'm lucky, that will be enough. Because even though white media fails me, Black women rule their own stages, with glittering gold costumes and smoke strobe lights belting to the constellations that led us from oppression. Beyoncé was the epitome of everything I wanted to be, crazy in love, Sasha Fierce on top with the great kings who look down on us. Beyoncé is Beyoncé, yet somehow she is degradable, worth whittled down to voicemail apologies and waitlist I love yous, wedding band bittered by broken vows, just like Whitney Houston's Grammy Award-winning singles, just like Tina Turner overdosing on Valium after 8 years of Ike's abuse. So tell me, if my idols aren't good enough, where does that put me? Where does that put a girl who's cried on the floor, wondering who would ever love her? A girl so insecure she writes more than speaks. I'm angry, but I can't even be angry for myself because I was never taught to love myself. But I can get angry for every girl who feels like a check mark on a white boy's bucket list. I can get angry for every girl who cries silently to wipe away her brother's tears. I can get angry because we're supposed to be the most powerful women in the world. The ones who withstood genocide and Jim Crow, sharecropping and minstrel shows. The ones who get up every morning to fight eyes off our skin. I am part of the people doctors underprescribe painkillers and burden till we break. My people are meant to be an enigma. But every night I look up at pop stars and see they are planets, duller and nearer, with surfaces you can set foot on, smaller and realer, with flesh you can bruise. I watch the first millionaires and their families rebrand their pain into platinum. I watch the most powerful women in the world settle for men who whip them till the pieces grow back stronger than bone. And I am angry for us.
Thank you to Merleeve. Now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have a 9, a 9.2, a 9.3, a 9.5, and a 9.8. Now, to start off round 2, we have from Coral Springs High School, Megan.
My name is Megan Kenny. I'm with Coral Springs High School, and my poem is called The Music in Me. Music equals my life. If I don't sing even for a day, I feel like glass. I can't let out my emotions if I don't dance. It's like a jail inside of me trying to break free. Fire that I can't escape. They tell me not to sing, they tell me not to dance, they tell me not to make music. They don't realize when they're saying that it's like telling me not to breathe. If I don't sing, no more breathing. She doesn't realize that when she tells me not to sing while we dance, and that it will help to remember the dance, that it doesn't help. I need to sing to be able to remember anything. She keeps saying it will help, but what happened to saying what works for you doesn't work for me. Singing while I'm dancing, playing cello while I'm singing, or piano. They tell me to stop dancing, a third of me is gone. Tell me to stop singing, half of me just disappeared. Tell me to not make music, I just became a new forgotten soul. I'm a musician. It is what I will always be. Once you feel it, you can't stop it. It encases you, making you never forget it exists, or that you're now a part of it. Music becomes a musician's only life force. When you're a musician, no matter what kind, telling us not to dance or play or sing is the same as telling us not to breathe. It's a spirit, it's our heart, it's everything. If it stops us, or if it stops at all, we stop. It keeps us alive like nothing else can. It makes our heart beat just by singing la or do, just by leaping across the floor, or spinning or turning, just by playing any instrument at all. Music is life. Don't tell it to stop. Just let it be free, because that's what it wants to be.
Snaps to the poet. And now, the scores from our judges. Ooh, all right. From a low to a high, we have a 7.8, a 7.9, an 8.1, an 8.3, and an 8.4. Up next, in round 2, we have from Pompano Beach High School, Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor Measle, and I'm representing Pompano Beach High School. A sea of boxes overflowing out the door. One box still needs to be shut. I see my old family lore. An old picture of me on a rocking horse when life was simple and had a set course. The picture is dusty and starting to fade. My memory of that time has already begun to cascade. My smile was full and my mind was clean. Now my smile is gone and my face is full of steam. The pile at the curb is high with things of the past, but not things I thought wouldn't last. Like the old table we always ate Thanksgiving dinner at, now it's being gnawed at by some local rat. With the house empty, my voice echoes. Everything I love has been packaged away, but still I can't let go. It's just a house, those come and go, but if I will connect with my new spaces, I do not know. The walls are bare, the air is stale, and silent with lost laughter, for when my parents said they live happily ever after.
Thank you to the poet. Now, the scores from our judges. Judge Michelle, I love your expression. You're really like, okay, let's give it some thought. Here we go. From a low to a high, we have a 7.6, a 7.7, a 7.8, an 8, and an 8.1. Up next, we have from A.W. Dreyfus School, Alyssa.
My name is Alyssa Xiao, and I'm representing Dreyfus. It is the Asian American woman's duty to carry out her parents' wishes. My father tells me it is selfish of me to not want children. He tells me that my life would be easier if I could stay home and raise them, so for this man, for the world, for everyone but myself, I dedicate this poem to my future daughter, because there is no kindness left for us. Dear daughter, when you are angry, they will tell you that anger does not sit well on an Asian woman's face. If she is not smiling, she is cold, and if she is cold, a man will want to melt her. You, dear daughter, are a trope. You are a stereotype, you are an object, you are the American name your parents gave you in order to assimilate with your Asian name tucked behind your teeth, almost like a piece of trivia. Dear daughter, remember it only takes a mass shooting headline to be heard. In 10th grade, I wrote a poem about how our bodies are museums, stolen art pieced together by the white man's gaze. In 11th grade, I wrote a poem about how coronavirus isn't the only virus in our country, disease festering within deep-rooted, underreported racism. Today, we are graveyards. Today, we are funeral shrouds not deemed worthy enough of a hate crime, and I'm tired of writing poems. 6 of us, all daughters, the broken results of a sex addiction, of a bad day. Yellow fever has never been more deadly. Xiaojie Tan, one of the 8 victims in the recent Atlanta shootings, was slaughtered one day before her 50th birthday. She and her daughter immigrated from China to America because it's just not safe there anymore. And when her mother called to wish her happy birthday, Xiaojie's daughter could not bear to tell her grandmother that her own daughter was shot, in fear that her heart would stop. Soon Chung Park, one of the 8 victims in the recent Atlanta shootings, lay in a pool of her own blood. Her husband attempted to perform CPR while the only officer on the scene was just standing there. Her husband says the house feels too empty without her and listens to her old voicemails to fill a void. And what my father doesn't know is that this daughter has had a man trail his hand up her thigh with the whisper of a question about where she's from. This daughter has been called disgusting for her food, has been an invader in her own home. This daughter is ugly and angry and cold. Dear daughter, we grieve for a woman, for a blood that stains the cement of every major city, skins split in Atlanta, New York City, LA. Dear daughter, our headlines are not new to us. Dear father, if I am selfish for not wanting a daughter, then selfish I will be.
Thank you to Alyssa. And now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have an 8.8, a 9.2, a 9.5, a 9.6, and a 9.6. Up next, we have from Hollywood Hills High School, finishing off round 2, we have Luna.
Hi, my name is Luna Richards Varela, and I represent Hollywood Hills High School's D, OA, DOA. I will be performing an original poem called Love's Perspective. Do I believe in love? The short answer is yes. However, not for the same reason as most. I believe in love because of the way I love. Blindly, impulsively, maniacally. If my belief were solely based upon the love I receive, or shall I say lack of love, love wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist in any realm of possibility. It wouldn't exist in any realm of my mind. I've been told I have a serious condition. Some call it obsession. I would rather call it attachment. I lost a friend. I did not lose a friend to the unknown, rather, I lost a friend to the well-known. For whatever reason, you can't have a friend of the opposite sex for 5 seconds without people believing you want them. It annoys me when I legitimately want friends and people ruin our relationship with all kinds of rumors. The difference between a platonic relationship and attachment issues and that relationship where your whole life seems to depend on that person is that in one scenario, you feel a sense of safety, hope, assurance, and so many other wonderful things. The latter scenario is purely based upon ignorance, lust, hopelessness, and selfishness. The love I need to fill this void drowns me deeper than this dead silence. The sound of the clock ticking is louder than my heart beats as the silence grows. The bad part about having attachment issues is it gets played off as a crush. That's not what it is. What it is having separation anxiety, not being able to be alone too long without breaking down. What it is failing to believe anyone can remain in your life. What it is painting on a smile with the teardrops. What it is sabotaging relationships just not to be hurt again. You don't want to be hurt, so you back away, yet you hurt yourself in the process. While it makes no sense, there's a perfect harmony to it. There's a reverie that wants to believe that I'm cared for. There's a truth to it, but every time I get hurt, that belief slowly gets stripped away. The part of me that wants to believe that I'm cared for is severely overpowered by the part of me that has been hurt so much that it believes I'm only wanted for my body. I'd love to be approached and spoken to without my body being the topic. Mannequins stand in a shop for their manufactured figure. I stand before you with raw authenticity. The countless times I was used and falsely made believe that I'm cared for is astonishing. Here lies my trust issues. So, do I believe in love, you ask? The not so short answer is yes.
Facts for the poet. And now, the scores from our judges. Okay. From a low to a high, we have an 8.7, an 8.7, an 8.9, a 9.1, and a 9.3. Now, we'll be starting off round 3. With round 3, first up we have from Pompano Beach High School, Sanam.
Hi, my name is Sanam Patel. I'm from Pompano Beach High School, and this is my poem titled Outfit of the Day. And the award for Best Dressed goes to me. My closet is my mansion. I am the queen of fashion. Every day's fit is new because shopping is my passion, and I'll do anything just so I can pay a fraction. I walk past the group just to get a reaction. I have a million shoes, but you'll never see me ration. And when a trend's out, you know I'll take action, but I'll throw it when it's over. What's the worst that could happen? Stop. Please watch what you say, 16 hours a day, fingers turn gray, 15 cents is the pay. For your trendy bag of lies, it takes till 3 for 3 days. Physically exhausted, yet workers obey. Eyes can't stay open, but they say it's okay. Kids as young as 5 will never get to play. Your shirt's tainted with bodies, see that on display? The sewing machine sews holes into hearts just so you can give a fraction of pay. But wait, there's more to this scheme. The emissions are extreme, polluting rivers and streams, bits of plastic from your seam. The planet used to be so green. 2,000 gallons of water just to make a pair of jeans. The pollution from your dyes are worse than they seem. The system isn't clean, but it fuels every teen. A graying cloud of steam. Our home is choked by your routine. Nowadays, we keep our clothes for half the time. We want every new design. We ignore the big red signs. It's time to draw the line. Don't buy 9 to save a dime. Draw the line. Don't use Prime to save some time. Draw the line. For the exploited, for the planet, for your outfit of the day.
Thank you to Sanam for kicking off round 3. And now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have an 8.7, an 8.8, an 8.8, an 8.9, and a 9.6. Up next, we have from A.W. Dreyfus, Lauren.
Hi, my name is Lauren Ortega, and I'm representing Dreyfus School of the Arts. People want me dead. They want me dead. They want parts of me, part of me dead, and I go on living even though I know that these poems will never be enough. Because when Karen Frank McCarran pleads guilty to smothering her 3-year-old daughter Katie with a plastic bag the day before Mother's Day, the Chicago Tribune chooses the headline, "Daughter's Murder Puts Focus on the Toll of Autism." Because when Alex Bordalakis, 16, is stabbed to death, the court calls it manslaughter. His mother and godmother get just 3 years in prison and their own documentary. Because when Laurel Austin is alleged to feed her boys chlorine dioxide as a cure, the state says that that's not serious enough for them to take action. I carry these stories for the rest of my life. I don't have time to write epitaphs for every grave in an age when people think we're easier to bury than we are to carry. I don't want these poems to be my obituary. God, you didn't have to do this to them. People like us, we learn how to hide, how to stuff these parts so far down we don't know if we'll find them again. But that wasn't enough for you. In the end, was it? You weren't content with a quiet kind of autism. You wanted it gone. So gone that we had to make March 1st a holiday, a disability day of mourning to the one person with a disability killed every single week by their caregiver. You ask me why I learned how to smile, to subject myself to kisses and hugs even though they sometimes burned, to not turn, to stay put, to stay here. I was keeping myself safe. This is the history that you will never hear about, because there aren't enough voices still left to teach it. Say hello to the first autistic poet to step foot on this stage, under bright lights and loud crowds and the blue glow of a mother still filming to watch after dark because I talk a little too fast to get it all in one go. We write the kind of poems that make the crowd cry, but we need the kind of poems that make the crowd red with fresh fight, hot bile, bared teeth, balled fist. I cannot be the only one angry that you teach people that autism is a disease, that autistic people are just victims of their virus. That means that when our caregivers kill us, it's autism's fault. Autism drove you crazy. Autism stole your child. Autism pushed you to the brink. Autism made you do it, but autism didn't put the knife in your hand, did it? Did it? You did that all on your own. And there's more than one way to kill an autistic kid, you know? These are the ways that make the front page, but I've been killed too. A little slower, with all the best intentions. Quiet encouragement to talk a little softer, to talk of something else, to keep my hands folded, to look in another set of eyes. I don't know how much of me remains unerased, but I'm still here. You can't get rid of me. All this incurable ecstasy, electrical elegy, half dead, heart out, head first poet. Sewn up, stitched out, and still here kicking.
Thank you to our poet. And now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have a 9.1, a 9.2, a 9.6, a 9.8, and a 9.8. Up next, we have from Hollywood Hills High School, Amaya.
My name's Amaya, and today I'm representing DOA. These are my favorite jeans. The light blue highlights my melanin, caresses my mother-giving curves, have rips on the knees and one on my right thigh. I love wearing these jeans because they boost my confidence, make me feel the power flowing through my veins. I imagine my ancestors cheering my name. Each cheer gets louder and louder with every step energized with the electricity flowing through my roots. From my roots come this strong woman who struts with a smile, turn heads left and right, this woman who feels proud in her own skin. She knows she looks good in, but when guys see the rips in my jeans, it's an entrance for their hand. They suddenly feel as if they're in command. My confidence suddenly diminishes. Their compliments bring me to sudden regrets. I question myself. I ask, why did I ever wear these jeans? Why is my body turning against me? How did a pair of overly ripped jeans get me to my knees? I didn't mean for my legs to be a bright green light telling a guy I barely know to go. Come inside my tunnel, speed, go slow, it doesn't matter, because when you crash and leave your debris, they'll all say it was her fault. The plea of guilt placed on her body. How am I to blame when you hit and ran out of my life? The streets were cold that night. You're submerging, stabbing my guts with your knife till I bleed like the traffic after a heat game. I just wish people could see me instead of my jeans. I didn't buy these jeans to be looked at as a sexual object, but I'm sorry that my legs made you object my nose, object my please stop, you're hurting me. Lost with the haunting memory of your marks and remarks. I tried to hide them with your charming smile. I just wish I didn't have to ask to not be touched. As if me not saying no is a yes. As if me showing my thighs giving you permission. As if my jeans changed my name to baby, mommy, shawty. I just wish I didn't buy these jeans. Why is my body turning against me? Maybe it's my fault. Thank you.
Clap to Amaya. And now, the scores from our judges are coming in. From a low to a high, we have a 9, a 9.1, a 9.3, a 9.5, and a 9.7. Now, in round 3, we have from Coral Springs High School, Mariah.
They ask what keeps me up at night. Now see, I would love to explain, tossing and turning through the weekdays, especially on my weekdays. I have a story to say, and I'm counting my sheep like Monday night. I stayed up looking back at my past. My reflection in a mind's lake are mistakes that I make, wondering if I had done it differently, would I still be what I am today? If I told my mom the truth the first time she asked, would she have better trust in me? Maybe if I never went behind her back, maybe I wouldn't have to ask myself that. Tuesday night, I stayed up working till 3 a.m. on the 10 assignments that were due at 11:59. Past due, just like my sleep and my self-control, spent all day procrastinating, waiting for the energy to kick in like the melatonin I take to close my eyes. Visions of late assignments and teachers asking me, is every other subject I study more important than the one that they teach? But little do they know, I need all 7 classes to pass to get to where I need to be, wherever that may be. Wednesday, I just couldn't sleep. There was no reason. Treason from my eyes that won't close. Laid on my bed, counting my prayers in the popcorn ceiling above me. That was the night insomnia decided to sweep me off my feet and take me on a dinner date. Up all night in deep conversation, only it was me talking to myself. Thursday, I actually fell asleep. But then I kept waking up every hour to night terrors. Fear becomes me until night becomes day, trying to calm myself down. As light cracked through the window, tears fell from my eyes. Friday, it was different, but the same. Stayed up all night, but I was okay. No nightmares, no shivers, no traveling down the river of unpleasant memories, no streams of tears falling from my face. And yet this wasn't normal. But who am I to question? Maybe my sorrowful sleep is giving me a break, like maybe fate is kicking down that door to a normal sleep schedule. Saturday, I stayed up, scribbling down my answers because I knew when you would ask what keeps me up at night for the second time, I would blink. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I would be afraid I would stumble on my words as if I missed a step while walking down the stairs, because I'm afraid to see those stairs across your face. And so tonight, I have no clue what it's going to be like. No clue if fright will be my only line of sight, if nightmares will have their cruel bite, jaws of the night opening up to swallow me whole. But the real question is, will I stay up all night, or am I going to have to take a melatonin to put my sleepless nights to rest before I lose control?
Now, the scores from our judges. All right, from a low to a high, we have an 8.4, an 8.7, an 8.9, an 8.9, and a 9.2. Now, judges, we're almost done with round 3, but we have a surprise for you. We have an indie poet from Walter C. Young. Please give it up for Devin.
Hi, my name is Dem Mordia, and I'm representing Walter C. Young. I went camping the other day, and on the first night, my dad and I went out at midnight and laid down on the grass. And as soon as we looked up, we saw the most amazing thing ever, my first shooting star. Here were my wishes for humanity. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might, wish upon a star tonight. That the world was kind and the world was clean, that we would all be human beings. The humans were all colorblind. We wouldn't see the darkest black or the brightest white, and we wouldn't believe one color is wrong and one color is right. That the nation wasn't divided by party, because some people are left and others are right. But if no one can agree, then what do we have left, except all the issues over which we fight? That people would have an open mind, so maybe then the truth they'll find. That people would have common sense, and not allow decisions to be ruled by the scent. That the president would set a precedent and choose the needs of the country first, because choices made out of greed are always the worst. That we would change education for youth so that they could know the real truth. That counties wouldn't test as much, and that we'd have healthier food for lunch. That charter schools will be private run as promised, instead of feeding off public school funds, and for the school board not to be thought of as dishonest. For the nation to have healthier food, so we can eliminate GMOs and toxic pesticides for good. I wish to prevent homelessness in our nation by having mental illness and poverty face eradication. For terrorists to meet their maker so that we could all feel safer. For hurt people not to hurt people, and for bullies to be made more feeble. For people to love one another and love their neighbor as their brother. For people to share so that we could give the world better care. And now it's time I go back home where no star I will see, because light pollution has kept the beauty hidden from me. Starlight, star bright, last star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might do my part by doing right. Thank you.
Awesome. now, the scores from our judges. Here we go. The scores for Devin from Walter T. Young. From a low to a high, we have an 8.5, a 9.2, a 9.2, a 9.2, and a 9.4. Now, judges, we're going to kick off round 4. Starting off with round 4, from A.W. Dreyfus, we have Isabella.
The following poem contains descriptions of sexual assault and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Isabella Ramirez, and I am from Dreyfus School of the Arts. So I'm at the roller rink. It's 2017, and Boom Boom Pow by the Black Eyed Peas beats beneath polyurethane wheels as my 4- and 7-year-old cousins get their skates laced up by my aunt, who brags about her past as a derby girl and how she'll skate laps around us, literally. We've left our brothers and fathers at home because it is girls only up in here, and this is our ladies' night. I don't know how to skate very well, but I reserve my aunt's hand-holding for my cousins and stay alone near the rink's ledge until a 15-year-old boy mistakes me for the wall when he comes up behind me and grabs me by the breasts. He doesn't let go until I'm falling to the ground from trying to break his grip. By the time I realize what's happened, my aunt's arguing with a police officer while I'm holding my cousin shaking. I'm only 13 years old, and all I can think, even in this moment when I want to boil my body to relieve the phantom feeling of his hands on my chest, is how grateful I am that it was me. That it wasn't them. That my cousins get to live another day as children. They're 4 and 7 years old, and I feel guilty I've made them leave. That night, my youngest cousin learned what sexual assault meant before she learned how to read. The thing about being a woman surrounded by rape culture is that it's not a matter of if, but when. I'm 17 years old now, and I've been catcalled, followed, honked at, touched, violated. The men in my family love to say not all men, but why is it all women then? Why do we insist on sending our daughters to college with pepper spray and a rape whistle? Why do we pass around sexual assault like a family heirloom? From our grandmothers, to our mothers, to our aunts, to our sisters, to me, please do not make me pass this to my cousins, but it's too late. My aunt sends me screenshots of messages from a boy in my cousin's 3rd grade class calling her baby, saying I love you, asking if he can smell her underwear. When can we stop teaching our 8-year-old girls to cope with the fact that men will talk to them this way for the rest of their lives? That day, I resented the fact that my cousin had ever learned to read, and the fact that there are girls who will never learn. The baby girls who babble through teething and swollen gums and have death become their nursery rhyme. Like 10-month-old Zara Scruggs, who could barely mouth the word dad before she was fatally raped by her father, who had just learned to walk and was everything a baby girl should be. Happy and curious and beautiful and innocent. Baby girls shouldn't die on hospital beds in blood-soaked diapers, yet Zara did. And somehow I still don't know if she would have been better off if she had survived. I don't need to be at a roller rink to know being a woman means I am constantly skating around the perversions of men. My cousins now know this too. One of them is less than 2 years from being 13, and I can only hope she'll never feel what it's like to be too young to fight back, but be told a 15-year-old boy's too young to be charged. I can only long for the day girls don't need to be stripped of their childhoods to become women, because that day I'll take my cousins roller skating again.
Thank you to Isabella. And as we get the scores in, I would just like to say thank you to UKG and UPS for their support of Louder Than a Bomb Florida, along with all of our amazing other partners in this journey. Judges, you guys are doing amazing. DJ Preach, thank you for the tunes that you're spinning. And to all the coaches, parents, administration, poets, and supporters that are watching, thank you. You've been a huge part of bringing Louder Than a Bomb Florida to life. Now, the scores for Isabella. From a low to a high, we have a 9.7, a 9.9, a 9.9, a 10, and a 10. Up next, we have, from Hollywood Hills High School, Ifeanyi.
My name is Ifeanyi, and I'm repping DOA. It's another morning, and it's no messages on my phone. Another afternoon, I'm out of work and on my way home. It's another evening. I give myself some time to be alone, but it's another night, and it's still no messages on my phone. I tried to break the cycle with distraction. Tried retail, which only retold all the goals I failed. Tried some new hobbies, only to be reminded of the people that outdrew, outacted, outthought me. I was soon driven to my lowest point, and there I scraped at the walls but dug a deeper hole, left dust on my dignity. I prayed he'd reach out to me, but God must have been busy. It seems popular nowadays. I'm a castaway in my bedroom, on my mattress. I meditate on memories. I miss the fun, the laughter, the ignorance. I'm now 17, with no circle, wondering how adulthood's gonna be. Seems uninviting, like snatched candy with no time for tears. It's not enough poems I could write to measure the magnitude of my fears. I'm at that point in adolescence that teaches difficult lessons like people only reach out when they need you, will pour out their heart through text, then walk past in person like you're see-through. So, I thought it'd be better if I forgot how to speak, if I cut my tongue and buried it deep under the soil next to a papaya tree, rot the sharpness in my tongue. However, it didn't stop the bleed, the liquid hurt, the red stained teeth. No, even with a cotton stuffed mouth, it wasn't enough to hide. And with forgotten words, I forgot how to write. Familiar ink became foreign in its image, as if I was crying tears that were no longer mine. I both choked on thoughts too large to swallow and drowned in them, lost whatever hope I had of speaking. After the last few months of this experience, I closed my journal, ran outside. My knees slammed against the base of that papaya tree, and I dug. I dug past dry blood. I dug past calcified words. I dug past that same rusty blade. My fingers closed around the loose soil I once thought was the answer. Tearfully, I slowly searched for a second chance to vindicate my vocals, but my tongue was gone forever. Maybe miles below the earth. Maybe swallowed by the roots of that papaya tree. And all that was left to do was to scream. Not as loudly now. No. Not since I've lost that part of me.
Thank you, Daddy. Snaps to the poet. And now, the scores from our judges. Okay, from a low to a high, we have an 8.3, an 8.4, an 8.5, an 8.6, and a 9. Up next, from round 4, we have Coral Springs High School's Rashea.
I looked around at blank white faces as they stared back at me, yelling, but I couldn't hear them. Time seemed to slow as my mind quickly began to fill with thoughts. If I run, how far can I get before they start shooting? Their words were the bullets and I was the target. That's where I just came from, target, I told them. I just wanted to buy myself some food. I needed sustenance to survive, but they didn't believe me. They saw my skin and came to the conclusion that I didn't deserve to live because Black life wasn't a necessity to them. It was an option. I knew if they pulled the trigger, their condescending words would be the last thing I could hear. I just wanted to disappear. My body was stricken with fear. I told them that I was innocent. But of course they didn't care. They could hear, but didn't listen. Because my blackness was a disease they needed to rid me of. I didn't think I was infected, but that was never my choice to make. I held up my white plastic bag as evidence and a symbol of my surrender. But to them, I had just declared war. They thought I had a weapon. My black hand holding anything was a weapon. I was a weapon. One of mass destruction at that. I was black, I know. But why has society still not accepted that fact? I couldn't understand how they were the victims in this situation, even though I was the one with a gun in my face. They weren't scared, they were fearless. Their white skin was camouflage for their sins. They shot at me. But it was in self-defense, of course, because the bag in my hand threatened their life. The same way that a toy gun in the hand of a black child threatened their life. The way a black woman sleeping in her home threatened their life. The same way the black child who just wanted to eat some Skittles threatened their life. Wait, I think I see a pattern. It was black and white. The white plastic bag in my hand turned red with my blood. A fitting image, actually. Black blood on white hands, yet it leaves no stain. Just some more black blood splattered in vain with no one left to explain why or how it happened. I wonder if they saw how the red of my blood was the same color as theirs. They probably didn't. It seems as if they were colorblind and blue was the only color they could see. I felt like dead weight. It was me. I was dead, and the weight of my mother's screams as she stared at her dead child was crushing me. The screams of thousands of mothers who stared at the lifeless body of their black children was crushing me, and it hurt. Slow breaths turned shallow as I felt my life slowly slipping away. I didn't want to fight anymore. I was tired of screaming at blank, unmoving faces. Tired of hearing about so many Black death cases. Tired of racists who think they have the right to be abrasive towards my people and then act like traces of their hatred and abuse don't affect us anymore. I was so tired. Maybe if I sleep, I can wake up from this nightmare. It was the middle of the night and my harsh breaths were ripping through the silence. I had fallen asleep watching the news. Black man Jacob Blake shot 7 times in the back by white police officers, now indefinitely paralyzed from the waist down. Should I even be surprised? Another black person vulgarized and flung aside. At this point, my emotional well had been drained dry. You can't escape from a nightmare when it's your reality. They showed the officer who shot Mr. Blake. I fixed my gaze on the TV and stared straight into his blank, white face.
Powerful. Thank you, Sheriff. And now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have a 9.2, a 9.2, a 9.3, a 9.3, and a 9.4. Up next, from Pompano Beach High School, we have Haley.
What happens when I let go? What if you're the best I'll ever get? What if I can't find anyone as good? What if I lost everything I could ever want? What if I let go? Don't get me wrong, I can get over you. It may take some time, but I can let go. But where will I fall and who will catch me? What if I don't like this new catcher? What if I liked it better when you caught me? I hope you're not getting cocky because you can't catch that well. You close your eyes, stick out your hands wherever they may be, but you were perfect for me. And I don't know if anyone else will be like you. I want you to know that I'm not afraid of letting go. I'm afraid of whose arms I will fall into if they're not yours. I wrote this over a year ago, and all I have to say is that time creates change. Change, she's scary. She doesn't present herself correctly. She makes you think the worst, but she's no curse. Although, at first, her tornadoing destruction creates an eruption we don't think we could pass, but in the end, it makes sense to why she changed the season, because we realize everything happens for a reason. For now, I am no longer afraid of falling because change, she knows what she's doing. I am where I'm supposed to be. Not only have I found someone new, but I have learned to fly. For I have caught in myself, I have defied the laws of gravity. I can now walk along the treetops and carve animals in the clouds. I now know the wonders of the sky and move from town to town, for I have learned to fly. I found a boy who doesn't keep me trapped in his hands or hide me in the pocket of his pants. Instead, he lets me grow. He lets me be the best I can be instead of attending to his every need. I used to rely on Peter Pan, hold his hand to keep myself afloat, caption hook in his boat, just waiting for me to drop. But I changed the story. I don't need your pixie dust because change has thrown me into an ultimate dimension of self-reflection. The silence of the boys has allowed me to find my voice. I wear sparkles on my cheeks, not to hear men whispers on the streets, but so little girls tell their mothers, I want to be just like her. Like a game of baseball ready at the plate, the pitcher threw me into outer space. Now I float in the stars. Change has brought me so far. Dependency, my new enemy. Thank you.
Thank you to Haley. Now, the scores from our judges are going to come in. Now, I do want to make sure everybody watching, I hope that you guys have followed us on Instagram and followed us on Twitter. Again, let me remind you guys that's Blue Apple Poetry, BLUAPPLEPOTRY. And we're stamping everything that we do with hashtag LTABFLA, louder than a bomb, Florida. Alrighty, and now the scores for our judges. For Haley, we have from a low to a high, an 8.6, an 8.8, a 9.2, a 9.3, and a 9.5. And now, to kick off round 5, we have from Coral Springs High School, Aaliyah.
I always felt that you were the thing that tied me down. You gave me a reason to live beyond my past mistakes. You held my hand and told me it's time to move on. You brought me somewhere I've never been. You held me close and made me believe that you were the one. You told me you weren't like the others. You said that you were here to pick up the broken pieces. That saying brought me back to prehistoric memories that I already been through. And yet, even knowing that I could lose it all, I still let myself fall. You sweet talk someone who has been through this 1,000,001 times. I trusted you. You took me to a beautiful garden with lush green trees and talking birds, a place I call my imagination. I imagined you to be a good person. I separated you from evil and saw you as a hero. You held my hand while we were flying. You let me go. You let me drown in an ocean I call pain. You held a pillowcase over my heart like it was my face, and I suffocated in all the pain you put me through. You dragged me through the mud of your mistakes and your lies and left me there to die. Saw me bleeding and you didn't care. You kicked me because you felt like the hurt wasn't deep enough. You added to the mess I call myself. You turned bad habits into coping mechanisms. I stared at the sky and sometimes you crossed my mind. I see you in my imagination. How could I forget such a familiar face? You became an obsession. The days don't stop and the show still must go on. I became better without you, you know. And I still see you in my imagination. You linger, and someday I will conquer. Now I know the definition of death do us part. Here lies the body of a girl you once knew as Aaliyah.
Thank you to Aaliyah. Awesome. For the scores from our judges now. From a low to a high, we have an 8.1, an 8.4, an 8.5, an 8.6, and an 8.7. Up next, we have from Hollywood Hills High School, Sierra.
Hi, my name is Sierra Ockville. I'm a senior at Hollywood Hills and I'm representing DOA. Today I'll be reading my poem, If I Never Changed. All I want to ask is what if I never changed? If I never learned the weight of my voice, would you love me the same? Our pain seems to be generational, so I can't get mad when you don't have the spells to break the curse. Till then, I'll pull every potion out the book, concocting every mixture in hopes of a breakthrough. If I never learned how to love, would you still be the one to blame? From the unreciprocated love stories to the empty I love yous, always giving more than you got back. I wonder if you're content knowing you gave everything you had. Am I wrong for being mad? You told me love wasn't supposed to hurt. But our love, like friction, ignites fires. Fires big enough to turn cities into char. It engulfed me. What if I told you I found myself? In the midst of the fires, through all the smoke, I found myself. My wrist is no longer my canvas for broken ideas. These days, I put the pen to the paper. I let my thoughts do the speaking. My brain pours out an inner dialogue of all the things I leave unsaid. My thoughts no longer cascade over the brim. What if I told you I am a direct reflection of you? Every time I look into a mirror or a window or even a puddle, I see you. I trace over your footsteps ever so slightly, careful not to mess up the artifacts of what once was your life. This time, I choose to take the road not taken. Fate is in my hands. I will choose our next steps precisely, 'cause with every breath I take, I'm taking two for you. I know I'll never get the answers I'm looking for. I hope you're proud of my change, Mom.
Thank you, Sierra. Now, the scores from my judges. From a low to a high, we have an 8.4, an 8.4, an 8.8, a 9.1, and a 9.1. Up next, from A.W. Dreyfus, we have Emma.
My name is Emma Garrett, representing Dreyfus School of the Arts. At 6 years old, I wake up every hour on the hour. I have to catch my dream before it flies away from me. I know it better than the ABCs. My dream is a self-portrait. Who I could be. Stick figure girl, waist 2 centimeters wide, 2 perfect circles, you can guess where, hair made of 2 long curling strings, yellow like sponge cake. I wake up the next morning with ink on my face, this dream body drawing pasted on me like a price tag. At 6, this dream is what I'm worth. The woman I'll grow into, who doesn't have any organs. You blink and she disappears, and I may not look like my dream girl, but I have mastered her vanishing act, swapping bread for breathing, stealing steps on my mom's scale because the doctor said I couldn't have my own protein yogurt because I love the taste of chalk, or else I'd rather not eat at all. Dream girl's genes read like a bottle of cough syrup. No more than 2 doses at once unless you want to sleep forever, made of sugar, red dye, and camphor, boiling point at 400 degrees. Dream girl scalds herself in the shower. She has red knees and a heart murmur. Put your ear to her chest, you'll hear it whisper, am I good enough? Yet dream girl's manic, like a birthday candle, spitfire smothered under 2 calloused fingers. Manic, like she dances to music. The first to shotgun a beer, crazy enough to make your snap story entertaining. Dream girl's eyeliner smudged with tears. She's still saving. She's the paradox of imperfectly perfect. Just touchable enough that no one notices she only eats in public. She's so chill, so fun, party of one. Just wake yourself up if she gets too pale. Hair goes flatter, you find out she bites her nails. She will never be good enough. As long as good enough looks like dying, slowly and prettily swapping out pieces of myself for inky lines until I'm more 2D than collage. Dream Girl is just a drawing, an impossibility, like a teen girl who loves herself the way I'm trying to. I don't see her in my sleep anymore, but I have that picture, made by a girl with hands too small to catch the world thrown at her. I'm grown now and I don't remember Dream Girl looking this tired. Tonight, I want you to think of my voice, a little too loud and nervous, my smile, how it tweaks down on one end, how neither of those lines just rhymed. I ask that you remember me by my bitten cuticles, my imperfection without redemption. It's time our dream girls get the sleep they deserve.
Thank you to Emma. And now, the scores from my judges. Judges, you guys have done an amazing job thus far. Okay, from a low to a high, we have an 8.9, an 8.9, an 8.9, a 9.1, and a 9.8. Now, our last poets of the evening will be from Pompano Beach High School. We have a duo poem in between Olivia and Sanam.
Earth, my dear, can we talk this out? It's just that you've been acting strange, getting all fired up when anyone mentions my name. And yesterday you told me you came down with climate change? I'm just saying, let's not jump to conclusions. I don't want to sound harsh, but this isn't the first time you've had this delusion. I mean, recently you called me a parasite. You were only joking, right? See, babe, I don't think you realize how much I need you. Nearly everything I do runs on fossil fuels. And listen, when I first laid eyes on you, I pictured a perfect world formed from green and blue, crafted by the hand of man, built for me, for us to use. And sure, I've screwed up one or two times, maybe a few, but why would you want to leave me? What have you got to lose?
Man, some days I wear you like a noose. Some days I can't breathe. Some days I wake up soaked in smog so heavy I have to claw apart the clouds to see. Lately, I've been questioning why I let you move in so soon, but now that I think it through, I can't remember giving you permission before you grabbed your bags and barged in. This isn't how it's always been. Before we met, I remember having a planet so clean, every corner was pristine, an overgrown garden padded with tree roots and shaded with leaves until you looked at me with hungry eyes and told me I was everything you need? Please, just get out, leave. You ruined my home, you ruined me.
In all honesty, I think you're overreacting. You see, it doesn't hurt if I pluck a few fish from the sea. And hey, with forests that big, there's no harm in losing a few trees.
Are you kidding me?
Whoa, calm down. Stop acting psycho and just hear me out. My dear, I never want to do you wrong. I want to sing like a song. I want to own you, hold you in my palms. You are the definition of beauty and fear, the bringer of life and death, even though lately I've been doing more of the killing around here, but we can use cute pet names. You can call me Parasite, your substitute Grim Reaper, your eventual demise, and I will call you my butterfly, my open sky, my infinite coal mine, my plague-ridden planet, and I can be your virus. An entire planet has enough beauty to go around. Don't worry if I take up a little too much ground.
Can't you see? I'm more than a planet. I'm a home. I'm a mother. I'm a canvas. Plucking some fish left trails of bone. Taking some trees left me diseased. Your song is my death note. Your love has become greed. I cannot let this go on. You're toxic and I'm intoxicated. A love story never meant to be. I'm tired of waiting for change and choking on plastic. So go on, find a new home. See how long you can last in it.
Thank you to Olivia and Sanam for finishing off round 5. Now, the scores from our judges. From a low to a high, we have an 8.7, a 9, a 9.1, a 9.2, and a 9.4. With that, we have reached the end of round 5. We are going to get these scores calculated to you guys and make sure that we can give you the final ranking. I'd like to thank the judges for all of their amazing work. You guys did awesome. With a lot of tough poems to judge. They were really, really good. So thank you for your consistency, your passion, and your effort. It means a lot to me, the students, administration, teachers out there, supporters. Thank you for what you've done. I'd also like to thank UKG and UPS for their support of Louder Than a Bomb Florida, along with all of our amazing other partners in this journey, our sponsors, coaches, parents, school administrators, our fans and supporters that have been a major part of bringing this festival to life. Thank you to all the competing poets. Thank you to DJ Preesh for all the great songs we've been listening to this far. We've really been jamming this whole afternoon. And I'd like to remind you guys of the additional events of the festival while we get these scores calculated. The Louder Than a Bomb Town Hall is this Monday, April 12th. So again, the Louder Than a Bomb Florida Town Hall is this Monday, April 12th. From 5 to 7 p.m. on Zoom, come be a part of the conversation. We're ready to talk about everything and anything. The Blue Apple Alumni Open Mic is this upcoming Wednesday, April 14th, 6 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. Repeating, the Blue Apple Alumni Open Mic is this Wednesday, April 14th, 6 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. The Amped Up Teaching Artist Showcase is on Thursday, April 15th, 5 to 7 p.m., and it'll be live on our YouTube, which if you're watching, you already know it's live at JT Foundation. Our individual finals, our indie finals, will be held on Friday, April 16th, 6 to 8:30 p.m. It will also be on our YouTube Live at the JT Foundation. The Stephen Douglas Team Finals will be held on Saturday, April 17th. That means that poets reaching this final stage will perform live from the Lou Rawls Theater at the Florida Memorial University, and this will be streamed live on YouTube. Make sure that you're listening to the Ballpoint with Blue Apple Poetry podcast for all extended coverage of Louder Than a Bomb Florida, all festival long. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you do your podcast listening. Ballpoint with Blue Apple is a great podcast program. If you guys have any questions or, you want to see rebouts of the scores or talk about the poets, it's just a wonderful podcast to join into and listen to. Okay, folks, looks like we're getting those scores calculated now. And just so you guys know, the top 10 indie finalists will be announced on the Ballpoint at Blue Apple podcast tomorrow afternoon at noon, literally. So if you're waiting on those top 10 indie finalists, teachers, sponsors, and fellow poets, tomorrow at noon, the top 10 indie finalists will be announced, again, on the Ballpoint for Blue Apple podcast. So you can find it again on Apple, on Spotify, wherever people listen to their podcasts. We have a lot of amazing events coming up this week. Please stay tuned. We also have a bout coming up at 4 p.m. So schools for that bout are gonna be, let's see. Who do we have coming up? Ooh, looks like our schools for our 4 p.m. bout today are going to be Miramar High School, Nova High School, Flanagan High School, and Cooper City High School. So please stay tuned at 4 p.m. to make sure we hear those and give those poets all the space and love and appreciation that they need. Okay, you guys, looks like these final rankings are almost ready. I'm gonna go ahead and check our YouTube and see how our comments are on the JT Foundation. Ooh, let's shout out some of our supporters. Okay, big shout out to Lolly Clutch, Brittany Rigdon, Aisha Martinez, Harth Hargwal, Regal Poet, Paula Rodriguez, Christy Modia, The Fish Tank. All these comments are so wonderful. Thank you. Look, they're saying thank you, judges. Thank you to the coaches, DJ Preach. Thank you, sponsors. You guys are awesome. Amazing poetry. Great job, everybody. Shouting out all these great lines. You guys were thank you to our audience very much for being so engaged with our poets. It really makes them feel heard. And it looks like we have the final rankings in for today's bout. Let's get these scores out into the open. Okay, you guys, here we go. In 4th place, drum roll please. We have DJ Freestyle's a real good one. In 4th place, we have Coral Springs High School. In 3rd place, we have Pompano Beach High School. In 2nd place, we have Hollywood Hills High School. Meaning that in 1st place for this bout, we have A.W. Dreyfus School of the Arts. Thank you very much to all of our competing poets, the sponsors, school administrators, and everybody that made this bout come to life. Thank you, judges, for all of your incredible hard work. It was tough. Some of these poems were really, really great. Thank you for staying consistent and giving it your best effort. Thank you to our bout manager and assistant bout manager, our scorekeeper, and our DJ. You guys did amazing today, and I'm so happy to have worked with you guys. Everybody killed it. To all of our students out there, again, stay tuned for all of our upcoming super exciting events. See you at the podcast tomorrow at 12 at noon to hear the top 10 indie finalists. And if you guys have any questions, make sure to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, Blue Apple Poetry, and reach out to us via DM for anything you might need.
Thank you, judges.
Get it, judges.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.